Today, we're going to talk about why Christians are struggling in business. Today, we're going to talk about why Christians are struggling in business. And after watching this video, hopefully you can get off the struggle bus and onto the money train. Off the struggle bus, onto, why am I getting feedback? We got to figure that out. Maybe somebody on the team has logged in from my side as well. That's why I'm hearing the echo. Let's see. Let me know in the chat if you guys hear me okay. I'm getting a replay echo every time I say something. Let me know in the chat if you can hear me. Oh, you know what? Okay, cool. All right, I figured it out. So you know what's so funny about this, right? Every week I've been over here fighting for my life to get this technical stuff together so that we can start on time. We start on time today, and we still end up with some type of technical issue, but we figured it out. We're getting better every single week. And I'm so happy to see so many of you here once again. And today is going to be somewhat of a challenging conversation for some, right? Depending on how you grew up, church you attended, environments that you in, business that you do. This conversation is going to be applicable to all of you because, I believe too many Christians specifically struggle in business. And I believe there's a lot of reasons and root causes to that, which is what I'm going to dig into today. And the first thing right off the rip, right? If if you were raised in the church, there's a good possibility that you grew up thinking that wealth was wicked and that poverty is piety. That wealth was wicked and poverty is piety. You grew up thinking that there was something wrong about having money. Probably because somewhere down the line, somebody gave you some bad doctrine. Somebody remixed the Bible and told you that for the love of money is the root of all evil. Somebody told you for the love of money is the root of all evil. That's not what the text says. The text says that for the love of money is the root to all kinds of evil. For the love of money is the root to all kinds of evil. Now, it sounds like I said the same thing, but I said something very different. For the love of money is the root of all evil says something completely different. For the love of money is the root to all kinds of evil. Two totally different things. And so, one, there's an implication that the love of money is the root of all evil. In the other context, it's saying that the love of money is the root to all kinds of evil, meaning people do some crazy stuff for some money, don't they? People will lie for some money. People will cheat for some money. People will steal for some money. People will kill for some money. People will work with dishonest scales, all the things that the scripture warns us about, because the love of money is the root to all kinds of evil. But money inherently in and of itself is not evil. But if we weren't paying close attention in Sunday school, we probably learned something totally different. Yes or yes? Well, why is that important? It's important because we only behave consistently in what we believe. So if we believe that money is evil inherently, and we believe that the more that you get of it makes you even more inherently evil, then guess what we're gonna do? We gonna feel guilty about making too much. We're probably gonna have self-imposed limitations to keep us from making enough. And we're gonna constantly be in conflict as we out here in the business world, confusing this thing called business with another thing called charity. Am I talking to anybody yet? Just let me know in the chat if I'm talking to anybody yet. Let me know in the chat if I'm talking to anybody yet. And it's so interesting to me because nowhere in scripture does it indicate that being broke makes you closer to God. It just doesn't. Now, there's a lot of warning signs and signals about don't go crazy over this thing called money. because it is the root to all kinds of evil. So it can put you in some very precarious situations. It can take you far away from God, as many other things can do if they are sin in your life. But part of the challenge and the struggle that I see is oftentimes the preachers and the teachers in the pulpit don't have business and or money acumen, which they should, because church is a business. I don't know if y'all don't know that or not, right? So what happens is they're only teaching you based on their leaning. So a lot of time they'll talk to you about how your treasure is stored up in heaven, which is true. But God didn't have us come down here, give us work to do, gifts and an assignment for 80 years for us to only wait until we got to heaven. God wouldn't tell us that we're supposed to plan for our children's children and generations to come if it wasn't intended for us to do some work while we were here. I mean, just think about that for a second, right? And so I'm very cautious. Thank God I read my Bible and I don't just listen to pastors, because now that I read my Bible, when I hear pastors say certain stuff, I'm like, oh, like I get why they said that, but it's not necessarily incorrect, but it's certainly incomplete. But they're leaving it incomplete because from their humble vantage position, that's what they've convinced themselves. That I'm just here serving the Lord for 30, 40 years, however long you let me pastor a church, and then hope that my biggest blessing is coming from heaven. Why? Because I haven't done anything to cultivate any other skills other than ministerial skills. So I'm heavily dependent upon the church and its success because that's the only way I provide for myself, which is why most pastors that I follow are also entrepreneurs. While they can make the choice of whether or not the church pays them, that's not their primary source of income. And for many of them, that's not even the source of income. You're a different kind of person preaching from the pulpit when you don't need the money. So watch this. So if you're that person who's preaching from the pulpit that don't need the money, how do you think you're probably teaching and encouraging your parishioners? The same. To not be dependent upon a job, to not be dependent upon one stream of income, that there's more in there that you need to tap into, that you need to be out here taking risk in the world, that you need to be out here taking risk in business. They're probably going to lean more into the scriptures where God is talking about his expectations of what we're supposed to do in the realm of business. They're probably going to talk about how many of the disciples were entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs, right? And that's what made them so attractive to Jesus, that he knew he could build with them because he didn't have to babysit them every day. Mm-hmm. But if they don't have that leaning, and they are heavily dependent upon the church in its welfare, then they can only sell you the dream that they believe, which is, yeah, we just supposed to, be as faithful to God, serve people, love people, be charitable, pay your tithes, pay your offering, and understand that your treasure is in heaven. It's not here in this world. Well, the text says, "Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. What does that mean? That God intends for us to experience some of heaven on earth. That God intends for us to experience some heaven on earth. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And so as I look at the text, which we don't do enough of, I just see so many examples of God establishing his expectation with what he has called us to do as it pertains to money, business, and all the rest of it. So for those that may know the story, others may not, there's one of my favorite parables in all the Bible is the parable of the talents, the parable of the talents. Okay. And in the parable of the talents, there's a narrative, a parable about a master who went away on a long trip and left his servants specific amounts of money. Now, for those that's paying close attention, right, it's a foreshadow of God leaving us specific amounts of money. And in this parable, the reason I like it, the talents, although they're referenced as talents, is really quantifiable money in this example. So the text says that, and I promise you, I'm literally telling you why so many Christians are struggling in business. I'm gonna land the plane, but I got to get off the runway and take y'all on this journey, and I'm gonna land the plane. But this is all a part of it. So the master goes out on a long trip, right? Master goes out on a long trip, and he leaves his servants very specific amounts of money according to their ability. Y'all remember that part? That's a very important part of the text that people gloss over. He left them money according to their ability. What does that mean? So to one he gave 5, to one he gave 2, to one he gave 1. Okay. He goes out on his long trip. He comes back. He check in with his people. Hey, so good to see you. What have you guys been up to since I've been gone? So he goes to the one that he gave 5. And he says, so what have you been doing while I've been gone? So, oh my God, master, I started a business and I actually doubled the money. Let me go get it for you. I took that 5, I turned it into 10. He was like, oh man, well done, good and faithful servant. Give me a pound. Then he goes over to the lady that he gave the 2. So ma'am, what have you been doing while I've been gone? She said, oh man, I made some investments. I think I did decent. Like I turned that 2 into 4. Let me go get the money real quick. He was like, thumbs up, right on. So then he goes over to the young boy that he gave a 1. And he says, man, so, everybody's doing great from what I heard. So what you been up to since I've been gone? Oh, master, you're going to be so pleased. So I know that you're a shrewd business person. And so I didn't want to run the risk at like losing your money because I know that you're shrewd and you don't play games like that. So what I did was I buried the one that you gave me. So let me go get it. It's just over here. I buried it. Say, wait a minute. This is the text. Watch what I say now. The master says to the servant, had you at least put my money in the bank? It's in the Bible. Go read it. This is no paraphrasing. The master says to the servant, had you at least put my money in the bank, it would have earned interest while I was gone. But instead you buried it. Why did the servant who had 1 bury the money? Why did the servant who had 1 bury the money? Out of fear. Scarcity minded. So watch this. This is the worst part. So the master tells the servant, get away from me, you wicked, unruly servant. Get away from me, you wicked, unruly servant. And watch this. The text then says that he takes the 1 from the 1 and gives it to the one that has the 10. So for those of you out there that's like, the rich always get richer. You're right. And God showed us in that parable as to why. Because for those of us that's unwilling to take risks with the gifts and the talents and the finances that he's put in our hands, and we hoard it out of scarcity, and we move in fear instead of faith, God shows us that he will take the 1 from the one who don't think they got enough and give it to the one that has more than enough. Now, I know some people may say, well, that's unfair. Is it though? Is it? Because remember I told y'all to remember something a minute ago. You remember what that was? Who remembers what I told you to remember about the story? That was the most important part of the story. That he gave to them according to their ability. So watch this. What that means is the one who had 10 or who had 5 that doubled it to 10 could be the equivalent of the same thing that the one that had 1. Well, how is that the case? Well, because the text said that God blessed them all according to their ability. So if where I'm at in life, and because I've operated in this principle enough, I may have $100,000 problem. But my $100,000 problem feels the same as a $10,000 problem to the one that had 1. Y'all picking up what I'm putting down? Is that making sense? If God blesses you according to your ability, The ability of the one that has the 5, although the number seems bigger, the weight of it seems the same as the one who has only showed themselves approved to be able to manage the 1. The weight is the same. If I have a $100,000 problem today, that feels the same as a $10,000 problem to the one who has the capacity for the 1. Why is that important? That's great news for everybody listening to this, whether live or on the replay. By the way, can y'all hit the like button if this is helping you? Like hit the like button so we can get this thing out in the algorithm, please. Subscribe if you haven't already. That's good news to everybody watching this. Why? Because if you want more, God explicitly is telling us all you have to do is become more. Everything you have right now is directly responsible to everything that you are right now. Everything that you have right now is directly attributed to everything that you are right now. Why? Because God blesses us according to our ability. So if we want more, we have to become more. We have to increase our ability. We have to increase our capacity. So yes, there's people that have less. Well, quite honestly, it's because their capacity is less. They don't read books. They don't get on YouTube lives to learn about this kind of stuff. They don't invest in themselves to get in the right rooms. They don't get coaches and mentors and consultants in their lives. Like they don't. So if you are listening to a broke pastor and that's the only reference of business and money that you have is pay my tithes, go to work, be nice to people, oh, you're going to have a miserable monetary life. Make no mistake about it. But the good news is, if you're just curious enough to open up that thing called the Bible, oh, there's plenty in there to tell you about everything I'm telling you about right now. Because that's where I got this information from. That's where I learned to operate in these principles from. That's how my life continues to improve and increase as a result. Proverbs 15:22 tells us that many plans fail because of lack of counsel, but with multiple advisors, they succeed. Many plans fail because of lack of counsel, but with multiple advisors, they succeed. How many competent and successful advisors do you have in your life? How many? Not how many friends you got. How many competent and successful advisors do you have in your life to help you in the specific field that you want to have success in life? For many believers, the unfortunate truth is not a lot. Why? Because all we know how to do is church. And then we frame this thing called business, but we couch it in the form of what we really call ministry. And then we run this thing that's really it's a hobby that don't make you any money. But you blessed and highly favored. Make that make sense for me. You got to glorify a hobby that don't make you any money, but it just gave you a platform to talk to people. There's no illustration in the Bible of that thing being called a business for me. Many plans fail because of lack of counsel. We got to go out here and surround ourselves with winners in the environment in which we're supposed to win in, called the marketplace. We got to stop being so over spiritualized and under monetized. Everything ain't a miracle. We don't need God to drop manna from the sky because he got resources walking around on this earth that can help us if we put ourselves in the right environment for them to do so. Solomon tells us that wisdom is more precious than rubies and gold. Wisdom, not money. That wisdom is more precious than rubies and gold. Why? Because wisdom will show you how to get the money. Wisdom will show you how to keep the money. Wisdom will show you how to multiply the money. But yet we praying for money. We asking for a miracle, trying to pay our bills. When we need a divine revelation, when we need a divine insight, when we need a divine connection, when we need divine counsel in our lives called wisdom. We understand life looking forward. I mean, we learn life looking forward, right? Knowledge is the application of a thing looking forward. But wisdom is the acknowledgement of everything that happened looking backward. So we need people that's been there, done that, got the trophy so they could tell us how to go there, do that without all the other stuff that come along with it. That's wisdom. Warren Buffett said it best. He said, it's good to learn from your mistakes, but it's best to learn from the mistakes of others. Y'all hear me? It's good to learn from your mistakes, but it's better to learn from the mistakes of others. But we just sit around and say, oh, I'm waiting on God. No, he waiting on you. He waiting on you. I'm telling you right now, if you want to change your life, you got to change the people in your life, and you got to change the things that you consume in your life. I consume the Bible in various forms, right? Not just from a reading perspective. I read it daily, but I'm talking about like every Sunday is the Sabbath. I don't work on Sundays. It's been like that for years. I take Sunday off. I'm probably watching 2-3 sermons on YouTube. I'm listening to a podcast or two. Like I'm a seeker of knowledge. Why? Because if I want more, I got to become more. So what happens is people don't make any intentional effort in becoming more so that they can make a higher contribution to themselves and others. And yet they want to make more money. Being a steady Eddie, having the same basic output every single day, but then expect more in life. No, the only thing you're going to have more of is problems because you're not becoming more. The average college graduate read 3 more books for the remainder of their entire life. That's sad. If I'm ever in a place of lack, it's never because of lack of effort. That's a clip. Whoever clipped this up later. If I'm ever in a place of lack, it's not because of lack of effort. I can't never get caught with my pants down. Self-inflicted? No way. I got to get guys something to bless. I got to give them something to bless. So that means that I got to be out here pursuing something. I got to be acting in faith for those things that I don't see. But I got to show him that I'm willing to do that. Because he told me to ask and I shall receive. Seek and I shall find. Knock and the door shall be open. I got to be in motion. You can't get higher from working harder. Working harder at the same level don't get you higher. At some point, you got to work on some higher things. But that's the real work, though. Because we're not in traditional school no more. Nobody's coming to tap you on the shoulder to tell you to get in that portal and go study that thing. Hey, it's time to go read that book. Hey, it's time to go get in that word and ask God for some divine revelation and seek to get to know him better and understand what his will is and his purpose for your life. And it's called self-discipline. It's called self-discipline. We got to stop being so reliant on everybody else. Another problem is that we look at characters in the Bible and we get enamored over their story as opposed to seeing how their story apply to ours. You just think about this for a second. The Bible is the best-selling and most-selling book in the history of the world. The best-selling and most-selling book in the history of the world. No surprise to God. He knew that when he wrote it. But let me ask you something. You think that he really just put all of those stories in there and the Chronicles and Numbers and Deuteronomy and all this Old Testament stuff? Like, do you think that he took the time to put all that in there because he wanted us to read this like some fairy tale? That we were supposed to just consume all these stories to learn about other people? As if it was just any other novel and there were characters in it? Do you really think that that was his intention? The all-knowing, almighty, all-powerful God and his sovereignty, that his plan was to write this book that would be the bestseller for thousands of years, only for us to be able to be inspired by these caricatures in the Bible? No, no, sir, no, ma'am. That was not his intent. Ask me how I know. Because if you extract things from their stories and apply them to your life, you would get similar results as their stories. So there's principles in the stories. Am I making sense right now? So you look at Joseph, right? Who had a dream, had a vision, shared it with the wrong people, called haters, his brothers. They couldn't handle it. Got to be careful sharing something out of season with the wrong people for the wrong reason. He excited. God gave him the vision, not them. They get upset. They get upset. They like, you know what? Let's kill him. One of the brothers had enough sense. Nah, let's not do that. It's our brother. Let's not kill him. Okay, cool. We just gonna throw him in this cistern over here. We're gonna throw him in this pit. Throw him in the pit. There's people coming by, they sold him into slavery. Before you know it, he's in Potiphar's house. Potiphar wife, Joseph must have been easy on the eyes. Potiphar wife, she want action. He like, no, ma'am. Wrong guy, right? He tried to get up out of there. She grabbed on his garment. He lead the garment. You can have it. I'm out of here. Now in her insecurity and her being a whore, she sell him out to her husband. Oh, he came on to me, blah, blah, blah. Her husband knows that she's a whore, but out of his own self-respect, he had to do something to Joseph, throw Joseph into prison. In prison, the guards come and they needed Pharaoh's dream interpreted. Joseph had a gift. God gave him a gift to interpret dreams. So he interpreted Pharaoh's dream, tell him what it means, give God all the glory as to how he was able to even do that. And so at the end of it, they like, Jay Pizzle says, the churches I've been in would tell me to pray for God's riches instead of implementing this. Oh my God, that's so good. I just got chills. The churches I've been in would tell me to pray for God's riches instead of implementing his principles that brings me riches. Bro, Jay Pizzle, look, thank you. That's all I've been saying. It's been taking me 27 minutes to say it so far, but that's all I've been saying. Okay. So Joseph uses his gift to get favor with Pharaoh. But then after he interprets Pharaoh's dream and he tell him, he like, look, here's the deal. The 7 fattened cows that you saw, and then the 7 cows that you saw that were pretty much shriveled up, it's showing you that it's going to be 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. 7 years of famine and 7 years of plenty. So Pharaoh like, that's dope. Thanks. So who gonna help us implement a plan? Oh, this thing called wisdom. God gave Joseph the wisdom to execute on a plan to save Pharaoh and Egypt. And not only save them, but advance them during a famine where everybody else all over had to travel to Egypt because they were the only ones that had the goods. Why? Because they had the foresight through divine wisdom and divine revelation and divine planning on how to make enough goods during the 7 years of plenty and be mindful enough to store it up for the 7 years of famine. So everybody else didn't have that perspective. So think about it. It's just like nobody saw the pandemic come. Pandemic come, stimulus checks, print money every day, economy seemingly take off. Everybody coaches, everybody consultants, everybody got online business, everybody got money, everybody at Louis, everybody at Gucci. 7 years of plenty. They not giving us stimulus the rest of our life. Oh, the pandemic is gonna end at some point. Oh, now here we are in one of the worst economies we've had in a long time. Divine revelation, divine insight, divine wisdom. Why? Because Joseph was a man of God, because Joseph seeked God in all his endeavors, because he uses gifts to honor God and serve the people. So watch this. So Joseph get promoted to second in command to Pharaoh. Joseph is the most powerful person in the land of Egypt other than Pharaoh. So what God tell him to do? During the famine, you're going to sell the goods that you stored up during the surplus. Did I say give them away? Did the scripture say to donate them to the people who? No. He said sell. You're going to sell the goods during the famine. Well, how much did he sell them for? Well, let me give you this context. There came a point in time where the people who were coming to get goods from them ran out of money. So then what did they do? They started to sell them their land in exchange for goods. And if that wasn't bad enough, they then sold themselves into slavery to have seed and crop to live off of. But we don't talk about this in church. Oh no. We talk about giving and tithing and offering. By the way, I'm an avid tither, love to do it. One of the most fun things that I get to do with my money is give back and honor God. But we don't talk about the part where these people can't. God's strategy was to sell the goods during the famine and for Egypt to grow during the famine. Joseph followed the plan to a T, and people went as far as selling themselves into slavery for seed and goods. So why should any believer who has something of value that can change other people's lives as a result of exchanging that with them as a service or a good feel bad about pricing their products accordingly? One of my most favorite statements is, I'm never offended that you can't afford my price. You should be offended you can't afford my price. I'm never offended that you can't afford my price. You should be offended that you can't afford my price. Now, don't nobody got to be offended, but I'm certainly not going to be. Reality is, I'm probably just not your guy. Because if you're the best, you're not the cheapest. And if you're the cheapest, you're not the best. So I let somebody else play race to the bottom. That's not my game. I'm not your guy. So, a couple things before we get out of here. 3, as a matter of fact. I believe there's 3 major reasons why Christians struggle in business. And actually, right before I got on, I thought of a 4th one as a bonus. Okay. By the way, if this was helpful to you, all I ask, like it, share it, make some comments, all that. We just trying to get this stuff pushed out. I show up every Thursday, 2 p.m. I was marrying my daughter last week, so I was out last week. But short of that, I'm here every Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Like, subscribe, put your notifications on, all that good stuff. That's all I ask. Okay. 3 reasons why I believe that believers really struggle in the area of making more money in business. Okay. Number 1 is a small percentage of believers really believe that they're doing God's work by being cheap. A small percentage of believers really feel like they're doing God's work by being cheap. And here's the danger of that. Here's the danger of that. I was I was watching this podcast about 3 years ago, and it was Matt Sapala. Shout out to Matt. I think it's Money Matters or something like that. And he was interviewing this guy who was he was a PK Korean guy, uh, son of a pastor, had done like $6-8 million in real estate in the Chicago area. And he was talking about how when he got on fire for Jesus, he got into a Jay Pizzle said the church wouldn't be able to handle it. Hey, send it to him. Let's see. Let's test it. But he got into a place where he was like, he was so on fire for Jesus that God had to tap him on the shoulder one day and tell him or ask him, are you doing things for me or with me? Are you doing things for me or with me? So a lot of the time we go out here and we start playing little G guy and don't realize it. Like, oh, I'm just going to price my stuff down here. That way I could, doing the Lord's work. But did you talk to God about that though? Because that may be you trying to do something for him and he don't need you to do anything for him. He got it all covered, by the way. Because if you're doing it with him, maybe, just maybe, he will want you to charge a little bit more. Why? Because the kingdom need resources. So if you always broke, busted, and disgusted waiting on another miracle, then how are you helping further the kingdom? That seems very counterproductive. Which lead me to number 2. Others don't know how to price their products and services correctly. This is a legitimate issue that we get out here and we Google what's the industry average. I have no idea what that is. For what? By the way, I'm going to tell you guys before we get off of here how you should price your products and your services, how we teach our coaching clients and consultants and experts how to do it. Okay. But that's another area that they struggle. Everybody is like trying to see, so what do they do? What do they? Okay, they charge 300. Okay, they charge. I don't really want to charge 300. I'm going to charge 150 for mine. It's a race to the bottom. Well, here's the thing. Broke people ask how much a thing costs. Rich and wealthy people ask how much is it worth. Because until a rich or wealthy person understands what the worth is, it all costs too much. So let's just say if somebody were to send me a DM like, hey, do you coach? Do you do any kind of consulting? I do on a select basis. And they say, how much is it? I typically know I'm dealing with a broke person. And when I say broke, I don't mean indicative of their bank account necessarily, but their mentality. Because what if I told you that it was $1,000, which is not, but it was only worth $97. But because you think you can afford 1,000, you thought you got a good deal. When a rich or wealthy person want to understand what's my payoff, what's the value, and that's how I'm gonna show you guys here shortly how you should be looking at your products and services and how you should charge for them. Okay, and then third, people are prideful. Oh, a believer, hate to hear me coming with this one. I'm not prideful. Or are you? False humility is pride. Because at the end of the day, you're portraying less of yourself to have people think more of you. You're portraying less of yourself to have people think more of you. Oh no, 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 no. No, I don't like to charge all that money, I just want to help people, So yeah, no, it's fine. You could give me whatever's on your heart. You're portraying less of you to make people think more of you. That's pride. That's false humility. When you know you about to get in that car and barely could put gas in it, and you couldn't have just accepted that little donation, but you wanted to look good in the eyes of them. Oh, this one will hurt some feelings for sure. Thinking more of yourself or less of yourself is pride because you're doing it to foster someone else's perception of you. So, number one, people thinking the number one of the not the number one of the one of the three reasons why I believe people struggle as Christians in business is first that you're pricing your products cheap by thinking you're doing God's work. The second is that you don't know how to price your products and services correctly. And the third, pride has got you and your business in a chokehold. Because you know you should be charging more, but the competing noise and now you put out this whole image of yourself and I'm just out here to okay. And then you resent them and now you got hate and anger and bitterness in your heart, all the things that the scripture talk against because you didn't do the right thing in the first place. Which leads me to my bonus point. Believers don't look outside the church. And when I say look outside the church, I'm talking the four walls. I'm not saying the big C church as a whole, right? We as the body are the church. But I'm saying they don't look outside of their congregation for the help that they need as business owners. I don't care how great they are and how much y'all do Bible study and life together and fellowship together. All of that is phenomenal. It's a place for it. Small groups, all that. But if the only thing they can teach you is the word, you shouldn't be talking to them about business. And just because they got business cards and a website don't mean they got a business. If they ain't got leads, pipelines, sales, money, those things, they don't have no business. They got the accoutrements of a business called website business card. That ain't gonna help you though. Just think about this logically for a second. If you taking advice from somebody that don't have the success that you aspire to have, how can they make you successful? Just think about that logically. Just take the names away. Like, I'm not the bad guy for just a second. Just think about that logically. If you're talking to people who don't have the success in the area that you want to have the success in, about you becoming successful, how is that going to work for you? The answer is it won't. Jay Pizzle said, "You're talking to my soul right now." I'm just look. I'm sent here. By the way, I pray for God to speak through me on these. So I'm just telling you, this just ain't me. It's a lot of people out there nowadays, right? They get these platforms and they grow because it's sensational, right? They coming at everybody in the church. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. It's like target practice every day. And then they hide it in scripture, but then they don't have scripture to justify other parts of what they do, whatever, right? So we're fallible as men and as man. But I'm telling you, I come here as yielded to God as I possibly could be. I come here with a pure heart, and I'm asking him to use me as a vessel to speak to his people. So here you go. You know what I'm saying? Here you go. So does anybody want to know how you should appropriately price your products and your services? That I don't care what industry you're in, you could use this formula methodology, like so that you could feel objectively good about pricing and selling your stuff where you should. Does anybody want me to share that before I get out of here? I didn't even know I got a podcast. I got to do at 4:00. So I got to retool and regroup, get ready. Who wants to know how you should price your products and your services so that you never have to feel guilty again? Okay. Okay. So here's oh, that's solid. That's solid. Yeah, I look forward to you being at the Purpose to Profits Challenge 100%. By the way, depending on when you watch this, we are having a Purpose to Profits Challenge starting on Monday, 3/10. If you want to learn how to build a 6 to 7 figure business over a 12-month period as a coach, a consultant, or expert, you don't want to be nowhere else but there. It's a virtual event. The link will be in the description. You can click the link and it's $17 general admission, 47 VIP. I highly recommend you get VIP, where you get to pick the brain of me and my other partner, who we both receive these 2 Comma Club awards out in Vegas together. And you got us at your disposal, right? Now, there's psychology behind why the pricing is what it is. We've got mentorship programs that go up to $100,000. So don't be fooled because it's $17 and $47 that's indicative of the value. We had a psychology behind why we're doing that, which we'll share with those that's at the challenge. But I want to tell you guys this before you get out of here, okay? Because it's gonna free some people, and I want you to be able to objectively move through life and business without feeling guilty, shameful, or confused, even for that matter. So, take for instance, I just told you we got $100,000 coaching program, one of our programs. The way in which we look at what we should charge for a given product or service is, can the person receiving it, based on empirical data, have a 10x result of what we charge, right? So for our clients that will pay us $100,000, we know we'll make $1 million in 12 months if they do the stuff based on empirical data, right? We got other programs with $55,000. We know these people will go out and make $500,000 in 12 months if they apply the stuff that we showed based on empirical data, right? So that's the way in which we found to be, I won't even call it an industry standard, but I think it's a kingdom standard. Why? Because out of everything that I said, and I know it's been very money focused, underneath it all, the principle by which we run our businesses as kingdompreneurs is Matthew 6:33. Seek ye first the kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added. So what does that mean? That we have an assignment, right? Within our kingdom, God has made us king and gave us dominion over our specific assignments in life. And if I get up every day and I seek to serve that assignment, all these things will be added. So what does that mean? That it should be servanthood in all of our businesses. And so if I'm serving my client at the highest level, that I know that they can get a 10x result from whatever it is that they pay me, I sleep really good at night, every night. Y'all hear what I just said? I sleep really good at night, every night. So if you take that posture of knowing that you go above and beyond, knowing that you Colossians 3:23 and do all your work as if you're doing it for the Lord and not for man's approval. If you know you really get up and do that every day, and not only that, but you can get your clients tangible, practical results, then take the emotion out of it. It is what it is. And you should feel good about that. And for the right people, my sheep will hear my voice. For your tribe, they're going to feel good about paying you that. Ask me how I know. Ask me how I know. We've done millions upon millions of dollars in sales over the last 7 years of being in the coaching space, and helped others go out and produce multiple 6 figures and 7 figures for themselves. There's nothing to feel bad about that. And so don't let nobody lie and tell you different, especially somebody in the pulpit that don't know the first thing about money or business. Many of them don't know the first thing about running the business that God already put in their hand, called the church. So what does that mean? You need to get out here and find other people that can help you. Like Jay, who says that he or she, I'm sorry, I can't tell by the name, but is coming to the challenge next week, right? Like, you have to put yourself in an environment. You have to seek wise counsel. You ask God for the blessing. See, God ain't gonna make the chair. He gonna give you the tree. He gonna give you the raw material. He gonna give you the resource for you to go and produce the end result. Did y'all realize that nothing new has been created since God created the world? Just think about what I said for a second. In the beginning, when God created everything, nothing else has been created. Ain't no more water been created. Ain't no more earth been created. Things have been invented, but nothing else has been created. That's good, ain't it? That's good. Think about that. When God put his hands to this whole thing, when he was done, it was done. And so he gave all of us a seed of his creativity to then go out and co-create and invent more stuff. So if any of you wondering what you should be doing with your life, try that on for size. Try that on for size. Was this helpful? Did this give somebody a awakening about their business, about their life, about their finances, about their perspective, about their outlook? I love it. 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 Any questions before I get out of here? Okay. Please, again, share this with somebody that you love, that you care for, even if it's maybe a little controversial. That's okay. Right? We trying to move the needle forward. We ain't trying to make everybody feel comfortable, but we are trying to let everybody know that we care. What would be your number one advice to someone just starting business? Get very clear about who you want to help, and then get very clear on designing the pathway to help them. Get very clear on who you want to help. If you helping everybody, you helping nobody, right? The essence of our page, our platform, while it used to be real estate, is now to help believers in business. We got Believers in Business podcast. We got Believers in Business community. We got Purpose to Profits challenge. We got Purpose to Profits accelerator program. Like everything is me helping believers, and I mean, and non-believers a bit of glean from it, but my focus is teaching people biblical principles, God's words on how they can go out and dominate in the marketplace and feel good about the impact that they're having in the process. Right. So I only say that, Jay Pizzle, to illustrate to you exactly what I'm saying. You got to get crystal clear about who it is that you want to help. Right. And then once you figure that out, you got to understand what's the result that I want to give them. Right. What's the result that I want to give them? Like I want to give them I want to give them the tools and abilities. The Great Commission is to go out in the world and make more disciples. But we limit that to the church when only 1% of all the believers will ever speak on a platform. So what does that mean? That means that 90+% of believers' biggest ministry gonna be in the marketplace because we all got to go there. We got to eat, we got to make money, right? Whether that be corporate or in business. So my job is to help empower the believer in the marketplace to go out and make more disciples. That's my goal, right? Uh Brandy said, I enjoy your platform, always giving knowledge, just concerned this message may appear to be an attack on the church ministry. Unfortunately, everybody won't understand your message. That's true. That's true, Brandy. That's true. And thank you for acknowledging that. I appreciate you saying that. It's true, but it's necessary though. And by the way, I'm an elder of a church that runs 4,000 members. So I love the church, right? I serve at the church. I give at the church. I sit on the board of a church. So all of those things um, are near and dear to me, but it's both and though, right? And I'm looking at the catastrophe that's happening in the marketplace to the believer, and it's fundamentally it's some things that's just off right now that is starting at the church level that we got to do better at. And I love for those that it may have rubbed the wrong way. If they want to have a conversation about it, we could do that. We could do that live. We could do that on the phone, right? Like if they come with some substance and just looking for clarification as to what I mean. But as y'all know, I mean, did y'all hear me make anything up today? It's all in the text. I regurgitated to you what I read in the Bible. The problem is that we don't read all the Bible. We read the parts of the Bible that fit our agenda and our narrative. Right? So Jay Pizzle, oh, thank you. Thank you. Jay Pizzle said, this is good, such a blessing. I appreciate that. That's the main thing is like get very clear about who you want to help. Obsess over their problems, right? Literally, once you figure out who you want to help, obsess over their problems. Now, for many people starting out in business, one of my mentors says that typically you want to go back and help the person that you were 5 years ago. So when I left corporate America in February 2019, the person that I was helping was the person that was a 9-to-5er that was trying to transition into real estate, right? So that's why we grew our international platform. We had students in 4 different countries over the last 7 years, and the focus was to help people who are in corporate, who are stuck in the rat race, build wealth through real estate and get out of the corporate construct, because that's what I did. But then looking back 5 years now, it's like, well, no, I've had multiple successful coaching businesses, made millions of dollars, help people do the same. And so now I'm focused on who I was 5 years ago, which was a coach, a consultant, that now I've gotten a lot of experience in that lane. And also what also happened for me 5-6 years ago, I stopped drinking. My walk with Christ became tighter, different. I became fully surrendered. You know what I mean? And I watched what he's done as a result of that in my life personally, as well as in my life professionally. So my leaning now in this season is to help those people, to help coaches, consultants, freelancers, who are believers in business, who are believers trying to get in business, like really grab hold of what that means and really understand that we may be the only church anybody ever comes in contact with. So what's your church look like? How does your church operate? By the way, your church is your business. That's what I'm talking about. Your church is your platform. What do people see when they come in contact with you? How do they come and how do they feel when they leave as a result of whatever they got from you? What's up? What's up, Ryan? Right? That's the things that we got to be thinking about. I think it's Galatians 1:10 that talks about, Paul is talking about, like, why would I care about what other people think when I decided that I'm a servant of Christ? Why would I have become a servant of Christ if I still was gonna care about what everybody thought? Essentially, I think it's Galatians 1:10. Go look it up. Okay. But that's how we got to view our platforms. We got to be bold enough to be unapologetically who God has called us to be, while loving people, being kind to people, but being shrewd as serpents and gentle as doves, as scripture tells us, as it pertains to how we operate in business. We can't be getting steamrolled just because we Christians. Like, none of that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Just so you know. Just so you know. We're supposed to have standards. What's for everybody ain't for me. I'm selective about the clients that we work with on a one-on-one basis. Why? Because I'm sharing my environment with you. We exchanging energy on a frequent basis. That's important. I have to scripture. What does scripture say? Guard your heart. Above all else, guard your heart. Why do you think God is telling us all this? To do something about it? 100%, Ryan. Turn the other cheek gets taken out of context all the time. It does. It does. What's up, Jack? Brandy said, good question. How does your church operate? That's a really good question, Brandy. Don't get me in trouble. No, look. The reason why I'm an elder at the church is because I believe in the church. I've been at that church since January. So I moved from Michigan to Florida in December of 2010. We started attending this church January of 2011, and we've never been to another church since then, since we moved to Florida. So we love the church. We heavily invested in the church. The reason I love the church is because it is a Bible-based church. It's non-denominational. It legitimately is come as you are. You come in there, feel as comfortable as you absolutely, teach, and it's from the top down, right? The pastor is not up there in suits, and he makes everybody feel comfortable to come as they are. That church, it helped me grow into the person that I am today. Oh, Brandy said, no, I was repeating what you said. I thought you said it was good. Yeah, it is. It is. It is. Yeah, I was being facetious. It is. It really it's a really good church. The lead pastor is a phenomenal communicator, yielded to God, scripturally based teaching. While there has to be a level of, and I'm gonna be very careful when I say this, engagement and entertainment in the message, right? Because that's just good communication. If you're a public speaker, there should be elements of your message to always engage and entertain the audience to some degree. But when the engagement and entertainment becomes 70, 80, 90% of the message, we in trouble. And that's where, as a big C church, we are predominantly now. We're in trouble. Because everybody posting stuff for clicks. Everybody's thinking about viral moments. And unfortunately, we're watering down the gospel. We're watering down the message. 100%, Ryan. Our walk is supposed to be attractive to others. That's the other part. And I'm glad you brought that up. And by the way, like, many of you are going to have to go back and rewatch this. And I promise you want to rewatch this. Okay. But Ryan brings up a good point. Our walk is supposed to be attractive to others. So if you call yourself a business owner and you call yourself a believer in business, and everybody see you struggling to make ends meet because it's not very profitable for you, your portals, your enrollment process, your onboarding process, you probably a one-man, one-woman show trying to do too much. The whole thing is raggedy. Then, to Ryan's point, then how attractive is that to your clients to want to serve the God that you do? I'll wait. See, this is the stuff we don't think about. We having this race to the bottom, but we're not considering all the other things that happen as a result of that. If my margins are thin, if my money is low, I can't serve my client at the highest level. So they getting a makeshift, put together experience, but yet I'm gonna throw God's name on it. That's like false advertising to me. Oh, Jack said, how old were you the first time you read the Bible through? I'm currently working my way through it now. So, Jack, I am, for the first time, well, yeah, I'm going to stand on this. For the first time, this year will be the first year I completed the whole Bible. I started it in 2020 thinking that I was going to get all the way through, and I didn't. But now I got a better process to where, and since 2020, like, so I spend time with the Lord in the morning and I spend time with him at night. So because I established that rhythm over the last couple of years, I think it's going to be easier for me to go all the way through because my consumption of my time with him is different. right? I spend probably cumulatively about an hour with them every day. So, but if you know how you start off, you know what I mean? You do the drive-by prayer, you say, "So, I gotta go pray. It's 3 minute, 5 minute, right? When you start to sit in his presence more, then like anything else, you start to build um endurance, right? So now I believe I will finish the Bible in 1 year this year. That's a really good question, Jack. Now I'm gonna tell you, it does aggravate me though for two reasons. One, I'm not a fast reader, so I'm an audiobook guy. So because I'm doing this 3, 4 chapters a day thing, I gotta listen to it, right? But part of the reason we don't learn a lot when we read the Bible is because we're reading it too fast. So I'm stuck in this tension of quantity over quality, right? But then I still, so what I've been doing in the morning, I'll I'll listen to the scriptures for the day, right? The 3, 4 chapters for the day. And then at night, I'll go back in and I'll go slower and read it. So, because I want to know. You know why I want to know? Because the people that I've been called to serve need to know. And I can't take for granted that they going to know. And so I want to know so I could be the leader to help them know, like I'm doing right now on this live. You see what I'm saying? So when you make everything more important than you, then it becomes easier to do difficult things. I gotta be well read. Why? Because I can't, by God's grace, I don't want to run out of stuff to teach people. I don't want somebody to go to make a withdrawal and there's insufficient funds. Why? Because coaching is a calling. I've signed up for this to take up this mantle. And so I got to maximize this thing. I don't need to be everything to everybody, but I need to be everything to the somebodies that God has called for me to serve. Jack said, I'm not a strong reader either. I listen until my mind starts to drift and then I walk away for a bit. But I'm listening so I can be able to better serve. 100%. 100%. I'm the same way. I'm the same way. Now, y'all funny though with this King James version. I'm like, look, I'm more of an NLT, NIV guy. Okay. But I will pop over into the Strong's Concordance. Um, I will research words inside of, like, I nerd out on the Bible. It's the only thing that I research at this level because I want to be clear about what I'm talking about. There's certain scriptures that I use in business to teach certain business principles, and I always want to make sure that I'm not perverting the scripture, that I'm not leaning away to make a point. And so I take deep dive into the text to make sure I understand what was intended and implied and what's being said. I just don't want to be that guy. Do I get it right all the time? No, but I promise you it's not because of lack of effort. It's not because I didn't take the extra step to try to research it and make sure I was clear about what I was talking about before I just started talking to people. So, but yeah, King James version is just a lot. It's a lot. There's one particular story in the text that I like to only read in King James version because I think it gives the best depiction for that particular story. I think it's Second Kings 4, 1 through 7. That's probably wrong, but it's about the woman with the pot of oil and her husband dies and leave her in debt with all these creditors and they coming to take her children into slavery. So she go to the prophet Elisha and he's like, "What you want me to do?" And then he show her what her gift is. And I love that story in King James version, but it's easier for me to follow NLT and NIV more so. Jay Pizzle said, "In what ways can I?" Yeah, send me if anybody trying to get in touch with me further, send me a DM on Instagram. That's the only thing. YouTube, I love you. The only thing I don't like about YouTube that is still no direct message, right? Like the comments are great for what they're great for, but in terms of interacting and more linear conversation, yeah, just send me a DM on Instagram. I'm in there and like I get back to people. For those that have tried it, can tell you firsthand. Ryan said, I haven't tried it yet, but I hear listening while reading the text is supposed to be effective for consumption. Maybe try the combination. I have. So I've done that. I do that in the morning sometimes, unless I'm just too tired. And then I just listen to it with my eyes closed. But yeah, if I'm like alert at the time when I'm listening to it, I'll listen to it and follow along with the text, which is cool because then I can earmark scriptures while I'm going through as well, right? Like I got some stuff I'm gonna share at the challenge next week. That's crazy that I saw in the book of Numbers that I never saw going through it before. I was like, that's good. That's why I like it's the Bible is a book without application. The Bible is just a book without the application. So for me, when I'm going through, man, I'm looking for nuggets that I can apply to my life. I'm looking to be convicted and converted. I'm looking to be like transformed daily, daily. Ryan said James is one of my favorite books. So that tell me a lot about Ryan. If James one of his favorite books in the Bible, whoo, yeah, that's one of those ones. That's one of those ones. New believers don't need to start out reading James. They'll run. You know what I'm saying? James is raw. But it's good though. Yeah, James, I like James because he very straightforward. He talked very matter of fact. He remind me of somebody. James don't mince his words at all. And I appreciate that. Let me know what's on your mind. Let me know what's on your mind, man. Well, I so appreciate y'all. I do have to get ready. I forgot that I was having a podcast interview. I'm getting interviewed on the Two Comma Club podcast here shortly at 4 o'clock today. So I'm gonna get ready, get prepared for that. And yeah, if y'all please go back, like this, share it, all that good stuff. Try to get this stuff. I help. The only thing I ask, I'm gonna show up every Thursday for y'all. Just help me get the message out. You know what I mean? Just help me get the message out to as many people as we possibly can. If it's helping you, right? I don't want no mulligans. Like if it's really making a contribution to you, then help me make a contribution to others. And we're gonna be here every Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern. I appreciate y'all rocking out, the consistency, the love, the support. And I'm gonna do my very best to show up and give y'all something meaningful week in and week out. All right. Until next time, God bless. I will see y'all soon.